Hi, friends, and welcome to Self Meets Soul, a podcast where we discuss how to discover what sets your soul on fire and modern ways to integrate spirituality into your daily life. My name is Juliana, and super excited for this episode because we are going to be diving into the language of the universe, how the universe sends us signs, what they might mean, and how to tell the difference between a nudge and a coincidence because honestly, sometimes that can get really confusing. So recently, I have been seeing things on like other podcasts and on my Instagram feed and stuff like that about how the universe speaks to you, and the signs that you'll be getting are basically, like what your best intuition receiving is. So, the best way basically that you tend to listen to your intuition is how those signs continue to show up for you. And you've probably heard about at least one or two of these, but I'll go more into depth about them. But the languages in which you receive signs are typically through clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, or claircognizance. Most of us have heard of clairvoyance, especially when it comes to like, I don't know, fortune tellers slash psychics, stuff like that. So clairvoyance is about seeing things. So you tend to receive messages from your spirit guides, and those most intuitive messages, you receive them best through seeing things. So this could be like seeing certain signs, like something that shows up in front of your face, right? Or even maybe visualizing something in your head, like something popping up, an image that is giving you a sign. Another way is clairaudience, and this is through hearing things. I don't know exactly like the percentages of how many people like fall into which one of these categories, but clairaudience is really impressive to me because it means that you hear signs. So you straight up like hear messages in your head. It could be like a voice, not like, in the psychosis realm, but like something that is clearly coming through to you that you hear in your mind. Clairsentience is the ability to receive intuitive messages through feeling. So when you are presented with a challenge or a question, you basically feel it in your gut, in your heart, what it is that you should be doing next. And this is the one that I resonate with the most personally. I feel like I've had experiences with all of these, but really I feel like I get most of my messages and signs from clairsentience. And then the last one is claircognizance. So this is when you just know things. You have no explanation of how you know it. You're just presented with something and you know the truth behind it. Now, I'm sure if you are kind of unsure about which one of these you fall into, you can take like quizzes online or go into some TikTok research. Some people have posted some good, enlightening things about this, but you may be listening to this and thinking, I resonate with multiple of these, and that's totally okay too. The most important thing to know is that when something does pop up through to you, whether it's through hearing it, through seeing it, or feeling it, or just knowing it, that you acknowledge it as a message, depending on the situation, of course, and you take action on that thing. It is super easy for us to doubt ourselves, especially women. I feel like when we were kids, we were way more in tune with things like this because children do just tend to be more open to, a different realm of things. They see things that maybe adults don't see, and they pick up on different energies. And then as we get older, we're taught to kind of ignore that. So it can be hard to get back in touch with, your clairvoyance audience, whatever it might be. But what I'll talk about later is that, like, once you start noticing something and you start receiving signs with openness, the more that you'll receive. So, how do you know that something is a sign? Now, again, this really is dependent on the person, and you really just have to learn to listen to that inner voice and trust yourself when you are presented with something to be like, is that a sign? Especially like paying attention to if you just had a specific thought about something or a question or a vision or something like that, and then you receive a sign, that usually is like a telltale sign that like this was something that you were meant to pick up on. But in general, types of signs that people do receive, angel numbers is huge. The girlies love the angel numbers, okay? Like, there is a reason that so many girls and guys too, like, have angel numbers tattooed on them. I literally have one as well. I have 333. And the reason for this is because as it kind of just became like a phenomenon, more people started talking about it online, more people started noticing it. And honestly, I think this is one of the easiest signs to recognize when it does show up in front of your face. So, if you aren't familiar with angel numbers or don't really know what they mean, it's basically just three repeating numbers, or honestly, sometimes it could even be something like 1010. You can definitely look them all up, but what is most common is what people will see like three repeating numbers. So, I'll kind of go into what the generalized meaning is of numbers 1 through 9. So, 111 is about your intuition, so it's a sign that's telling you to trust your gut and listen to your heart. 222 is about alignment, so it's a sign that is saying you are in the right place at the right time. 333 is about support, so it's letting you know that your spirit guides are around you, sending you love, support, and guidance. 444 is protection. This is showing you that your spirit guides in the universe are protecting you. 555 is a signal for change, so that usually means that something new is coming. 666 is a reflection type thing, and it means that it's time to wake up to your higher spiritual truth. 777 is luck, and usually just means that something good's about to happen. 888 is balance, so, and also like abundance too, I would say, so saying that everything is falling into place as it's meant to be. And then 999 is about releasing, so a message that it's time to let go of what's no longer serving you. I have just like a little picture of this on my phone from like something I saw on Instagram, like that someone put together, so that when I do see an angel number, I can look it up after to see like, oh, what does this message mean? But some of them I see all of the time, and most people kind of have this situation where they do see one angel number maybe more than others, and by that point you kind of are like, okay, I know what this one means. Like, I definitely, the one I see the most is 333 and 444, sometimes 222. 555 I remember because it involves change, so that's one that I typically listen to. And if you're wondering right now, like, okay, what is the context of these angel numbers, like what is an example, and I will give you some because I have a whole notes list that I'm going to go over of like signs that I have received and like why they meant something. Another sign that people tend to receive are a song or lyrics that come on randomly. I literally was dying because I've been rewatching Final Destination with my friend because we saw the newest one in theaters, and like that movie was my childhood. So we rewatched the first one last month, and I was literally dying because there was a song like on her radio that she was listening to, like just a normal song, and then different songs about like death and stuff kept coming up. And it was like right before the freeway car explosion thing. Anyways, if you guys haven't seen Final Destination, I'm not going to be like, yeah, go watch it. But also like it's a time. But that was like a sign, right? Like they were explicitly saying in the movie that like this song was coming on right before something bad was about to happen. That, of course, can also go in the other direction where you could hear certain lyrics that maybe literally are describing the exact situation you're in, or a message like of positivity that's coming up when you're struggling with something. That is another sign that people notice a lot as well. Feathers, animals, or nature like butterflies, hawks, crows, they all have different meanings. One that I feel like resonates a lot with me is seeing a butterfly, because I obviously don't see them often. I live in Arizona, so like, there's not that much flowers around and stuff like that for butterflies to thrive around. But when I do see one, usually to me it feels like a little nod or like a little wink from the universe. You may have another animal that means something to you. Especially people who have had maybe like a loved one who's passed, and maybe they had an animal that they loved, or maybe you had a specific experience with that person, and it involved a type of symbol from nature. And when you see that, sometimes people take that as like a nod from their loved one. Another sign that people receive is overheard conversations or just random synchronicities. And God, I wish I remembered this example from the other week, but there was a conversation I had with someone, And it was about just some topic in general. And then that same thing came up 4 separate times with different people in the next 2 days. And I was like, why does this keep getting brought up? It was literally so weird. I do remember trying to be like, what does this mean? Like, is this a sign of something? But I literally think it was something so random that kind of almost treaded into coincidence territory. But regardless, if you have something on your mind or if you have a question or a problem that you want help with, and maybe you're walking in Target or wherever you are and you hear someone mention that conversation or topic, or it's something that really like applies to something in your life, that can be a sign from your spirit guides about how to proceed with that situation. People also tend to receive signs through dreams or sudden inner knowings. And I know there's so much like research that's gone into dreams, and it's something that no one's really figured out yet. Most scientists think of it as like either neural pooping, so just like random thoughts from like your neurons firing, or also obviously what happens a lot is if we have something weighing on us that will come up in a dream, or subconscious things that we haven't dealt with, subconscious fears. That happens to me a lot. I'll like have the most random dreams involving like my family, because that's like one of my biggest fears is like losing my family. So that comes up a lot, and I usually know like what that means. But I have had certain dreams, which again I'll go over in my notes list section, that I'm like, this literally was like one of my spirit guides like straight up talking to me in this dream. In general, I also tend to remember my dreams pretty well, even for like days after. Not all of them, of course, but I do have a pretty good memory when it comes to my dreams. But especially these ones that I am literally in the middle of the dream and I'm like, oh my God, like this is like I am receiving this right now, where it's like I have that weird moment of like conscious thought in my dream that I know what's going on. Those are typically the ones I tend to remember too. Also, sudden inner knowings, and that's kind of leaning into the claircognizance side of things, is when, you know, you're going about your business and then you just like something comes up literally out of nowhere. Like there's nothing that triggered that thought, it just came up. And one example I have of this is in one of my relationships. I had already like, and after the breakup, when I went back and read my journal over the years that we were together, I was like, girl, you been knew this whole time that it wasn't going to work out. But besides that, like I literally, when this breakup happened, me and him were in a good place. Like we were fine. There weren't any real issues, but it was looming in the back of my mind that this person wasn't my forever. But everything was going fine, like I said. And then one day, literally, I remember this because I was like, oh my God, it was just so loud. I was sitting on my couch, just like watching TV. And I literally just like had this thing, voice, whatever, come across my mind. And it was like, you need to break up with him. You have to break up. And I also knew that that was a sign that I was supposed to receive because I didn't feel any strong emotion towards it. Obviously, like, I was very upset about this breakup. It was very hard, but the way that the message came across, it was so matter of fact and like I knew that this was it. Like, this was what I had to do, that I didn't even have an emotion. It kind of was just like a fact, a statement. And while in the beginning for like, I don't know, maybe a good week, I tried to like get rid of that thought because I kind of was like, well, that came out of nowhere. I tried to ignore it because that's what we tend to do sometimes, right? Especially if it's something that, you know, is hard to hear. I tried to ignore it, but it literally did not go away. And that statement was so loud in my mind and just so matter of fact that it was like, oh, it's there. You have this thought, you know that it's true. You can't keep like pretending like it's not what's supposed to happen. So that is one of the ways that I would say like a sign came through for me as well. So sudden inner knowings. And then another sign that you might receive is something falling through. And we are trained to kind of really hold on to the things that we want, especially if it is a dream of ours or something that we really think is our next step. And when it doesn't happen, it's extremely disappointing. It's extremely gut-wrenching depending on what it is. And typically the first thing we ask ourselves is like, why me? Like, why is this happening to me? This is unfair. This sucks. Like, this isn't what I wanted. But it is really important to reframe your mindset and see things falling through as actual redirection. So yeah, maybe you didn't get that job that you applied for. Maybe they ghosted you during the interview process or something. Like, hey, well, take that as a sign of redirection. That was the universe protecting you from maybe a toxic work environment. Maybe you're in a long-term relationship or you're getting engaged or whatever it is, and you have a terrible sudden breakup. Maybe they cheat on you or something like that. Take that as a sign of redirection. Maybe that was the universe protecting you from getting divorced years down the road when you have kids and everything. Maybe you're on your way somewhere and the maps takes you in the wrong direction or something like that. Instead of thinking of that as like, oh my gosh, this is going to make me late, this is ruining my plan, think of that as a redirection. Maybe something was dangerous happened on that road, like a car accident or something. It's hard, obviously, to change your mindset to that, but once you really start reframing things that you view as like pitfalls or maybe a negative situation as a redirection of, oh my gosh, like, thank you to my spirit guides. Thank you, universe, for putting me right on my right path that's right for me. I know I may not understand why this happened right now, but I'll understand it later. And I guarantee you, you will understand that later. Literally think of like any breakup you have had, right? Like, think about it. In the moment, you're like, wow, this is the worst. This sucks. Why does this feeling exist? But then later down the road, when you're reflecting on that relationship after you've healed, you're like, wow, thank God I didn't end up with that person, because I can't imagine how my life would have looked differently. Now, one of the most important things I would say to realize is that once you start noticing these signs, the universe will send more to you, okay? I don't want to say you're like being tested, but it's like the universe is sending you these messages of hope or whatever, something it wants you to hear, in hopes that you'll recognize it, and then that way it can continue sending more. So I've pulled up my notes list on my phone, and this is a really good way to keep track of these signs that you're noticing, because once you do this, you can kind of see and look back and be like, oh my gosh, look at all of these things that aren't, like, at some point it crosses from being a coincidence into being a sign, and you'll understand that intuitively within yourself once these things happen. So I'll just share a couple here. So this one was back from 2022, and it was my last day of school as a kindergarten teacher, and I had not re-signed my contract, so I was leaving the school setting, right? And on the last day, I got a message from my I Am Affirmations app that said, I am excited about the next chapter in my life. And I definitely saw that as a wink from the universe, because I was really anxious about leaving teaching. Like, this was what I went to school for. This was my career. See episode number 2 of this podcast if you want to get more into that. But yeah, I got that message and it made me smile, because I was like, I'm doing the right thing. And here I am 3 years later, and like, I don't regret that decision at all. So I'm glad that happened. Other little things, like, I remember wishing like this body wash that I used was on sale, and then the next day I got a gift card for that place, like, out of nowhere. That also was really funny to me. Kind of on the same vein as work, at the gas station, my pump stopped at $42.42. And I was like, oh, 42.42. I wonder what that means. And I looked it up, and it says it's a message saying that you are on the right path, typically regarding work. And this was after I formally submitted my resignation letter to a place that I was working at, and after I signed an offer letter into the field that I'm in now. One time I saw 888, and this was at a time where I had left a job, and so I thought like I didn't have any more paychecks left, and I was like, oh dang, that sucks. And then literally the next day after seeing 888, I got another paycheck that I totally wasn't even expecting. When I did my tarot card pull for the year for 2024, my February card had said that it was time to take action towards your dreams, and that was when I started this podcast. And I wasn't expecting that when I did that pull for the year, so that was really awesome. Here's a dream that I had. I had a couple of these, but I'll only share one. And it was this dream where there were two people chasing me and a friend. Don't know who this friend was. Sometimes people, like, I literally will have random people in my dreams that I don't know who they are, but they'll be someone else, even myself. Like, sometimes I'm not me in my dreams, but I know that it is me. I don't know. Weird to describe. But, anyways, when me and this friend were running in the mall, we ran into older versions of ourselves, and those older versions told us to let go of our control, like just let go of controlling things and we'll be okay. That one was so random and so like literally a direct message that I was like, this is insane. One time while I was driving, I saw the time in the car said 444, and then literally like 30 seconds after, I saw in my rear view that a woman was going so fast and was about to slam into me, and she literally like slammed on her brakes, but she did it hard enough to stop in time. So saying that message of protection right before that happened was great. Another subtle time was I had this song by Beautiful Chorus as my Shavasana song in one of my yoga classes. And while it was playing, I was like, hopefully this isn't too like woo woo for them, because, you know, not everyone nowadays does yoga because they're spiritual. Like some people just do it for the workout, especially in the West Coast. And so in my head, I was like, God, hopefully this isn't like too woo woo. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful song. I love it, but I didn't know if it would jive with some people. And then right after class, 3 separate people walked up to me and asked me what the name of that song was because they wanted to save it. And that also made me smile because I was like, oh, you know, here's the universe, like, letting me know not to doubt myself and, like, I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. And then last one, most recently, I would say, is when I was in Italy, one of my friends is studying to be a special ed teacher, and she was doing Braille homework, and I was kind of helping her with it after she taught me, like, what the symbols are and stuff like that. And we were talking about sign language, and I remember I had a memory of like early on in college thinking like, oh, I would actually love to learn sign language and work at a school for like the hard of hearing and deaf. And on my plane on the way back to America, I sat next to a deaf woman, and we kind of were communicating back and forth on like a piece of paper. I helped her like go through customs and stuff like that. And I just thought that that was such a funny coincidence as well, because I was thinking like, this is so cool. You know, I wish there was more accessibility for people who have these needs. And then I was literally sitting next to a woman from going from Germany to America. So I thought that that was awesome as well. And the reason I said like I keep this in a notes list in my phone is to remind me that these messages are being shown to me, but also to let the universe know that message received. Like, I hear you, I'm putting in the work to try and listen and receive these messages. Now, on the flip side of that, it can be really hard to tell if something is a sign or if you're just overthinking. So, my anxious girls and guys, like, this is for you. I know how difficult this can be. So, one thing to notice is that signs often show up repeatedly. You will, and I'm sure I've talked about this on this podcast before, but things will come to you from your guides as a whisper, as a little nudge. Then it'll get a little louder, and then it'll get a little louder until you finally listen. Like it will be something you cannot ignore. And like that sign that I received about my ex earlier on, like I said, when I went back and read my journal, I was like, good God, like there were so many signs and things that were being brought to my attention that I just kept ignoring until this happened. It literally like a statement in my head that was just like so matter of fact that I was like, okay, I hear you. Like, I cannot ignore this anymore. So things will show up repeatedly. So maybe you dismiss something as like you overthinking about it the first time, or maybe you just are like, yeah, that's just a coincidence. That's okay. Like, it can be really hard to tell. Just know that if it is something that you are meant to be receiving, that it will keep showing up for you until it clicks. Speaking of, another way to know is that you'll feel a click or an inner resonance. You'll be like, yep, that checks out. Like, this is so clear. Now I know what I have to do, right? And it's something that you're not forcing. It's something that flowed into your awareness. So like I said, when I'm just going about my day and I'll see these angel numbers, or people will say something, or I'll have a random dream, that isn't me trying to be like, oh, come on, universe, give me a sign. And like, you can ask for signs, and you should ask for signs. But when you are debating if something was a coincidence or anxiety or a sign, if it just came up into you like out of nowhere, typically it's a sign, right? And it's not about looking for them everywhere. It's about staying open and present enough to recognize what's already being shown to you. But that goes to say, like, let's say you really are struggling with something and you really do want some guidance, you can ask for signs. And the way to ask and receive them can be different for certain people, but here are some tips. So be specific but open. Some people will get really specific, like if I meant to, let's say, move states or whatever, show me, and try to make it something that, like, don't be like, show me a white Honda Civic because, like, you know, those are everywhere, right? Like, make it something that when you see it, you're like, oh geez, like, that is so obvious. So maybe it's like, show me a kiwi, or show me someone eating a banana, or show me, I don't know why fruit's coming up for me, show me like a horse or something. And that could be a horse that you see when you're driving. It could be a horse that you see on TV. Something that is specific, but something that the universe can show to you in some way. You don't want it to be ultra common, like I said, the white Honda Civic, but you also don't want to be like, show me a snowstorm and like you live in Arizona in the summer, right? You know, that's going to be maybe a little too specific, right? So give it enough open space for the universe to bring that in. Next, you want to make sure that you're asking from a grounded, non-anxious place. When you are asking for a sign, but it is rooted in these deep emotions where you're like, depending on what this happens, like whatever this sign means, like this is really going to mess me up or it's really going to be great depending on what it is, that usually means like you're not ready to receive whatever that message is. You're not ready to maybe take that next step on whatever the problem is. So you want to make sure that you are asking from a grounded place where you are telling the universe, like, no matter what the outcome is of the situation, I am open to receiving this sign and I will move forward accordingly. So again, another example of that and how you might phrase that is, if this path is right for me, show me a fish in the next 48 hours or something like that. And then just let go and watch what unfolds. And timing is really important with this. Some signs you'll receive right away, and some they'll only make sense in hindsight, right? I've only done this a couple times, and one of them was during my meditation on my balcony, and I felt really in tune, I was really grounded, and I just wanted to see if I could get like a little wink from the universe. So while I was meditating, I was like, you know, if you're here with me, bring me like a gust of wind, like that's strong enough that it blows my hair back. And again, like I'm in Arizona, and yeah, like there's wind sometimes, but it's also mostly hot. So within the next 15 seconds, there was like this random gust of wind that like blew my hair back, and it was moving the trees and everything like that. And it made me smile and it made me emotional because I was like, okay, that was a sign that I asked for and I received. But again, it's not always going to come up like that, because again, you are not going to receive the answer because you want it right then and there. Like, that's unfortunately the reality of the situation. God, if we could get an answer to any question we had right in that moment, like we would all be unstoppable, right? But sometimes you'll have to wait. Sometimes you may, let's say you're manifesting something and you're seeing signs everywhere. And there's something that I'm calling in right now that I literally just yesterday I saw, it like came to my mind, this thing that I want. And then I saw signs about it throughout my day yesterday, 2 different ones. And I also was like, oh, that's a little wink from the universe that like, yes, that's the right thing. Like I am working on manifesting the right thing. And I want this to happen next year. Will it happen next year? I don't know. But regardless, you just have to be open to the timing. And maybe you don't see it right then, but when you look back, you will definitely have those moments where you're like, that's what that meant. Oh, that wasn't like something bad happening to me. That was just a redirection. So a question that I will leave you with today is, what signs have you been noticing throughout your life? And also, how do you best receive signs? So what is the best way that you tend to listen to your intuition? Do you see things? Do you hear things? Do you feel things? Or do things just come up for you as a knowing? And remember that the universe is always speaking. It's up to us to slow down and listen. Well, that's all that I have for you today, everyone. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to leave a review and share it with someone in your life. You never know who might resonate with it. Chat with you later.